This is the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA, a weekly recap of your Eagles and news around the NFL. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Rob's Automotive and Collision, BCWSA, Chickies and Pete's, Begley, Carlin and Mandio Law Firm, Penworth Financial Services, Penn Community Bank, The Capitol Grill, and Ventresca's LTD. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts, from Inside the Birds, Geoff Mosher and Andrew DiCecco.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Pro Football Report, presented by BCWSA right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, seen live at WBCBsports.com. I'm Geoff Mosher from Inside the Birds and Philly Voice. I'm joined, of course, by Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com. And we are live at Chickies and Pete's in Marlin. What a great crowd we got here. Also expecting just momentarily to be joined by former Eagles offensive lineman Barrett Brooks, the star Eagles analyst on NBC Sports. And Andrew, we're going to be talking about, of course, an Eagles, another get-right win. They enter the bye this week. They are 6-2. And I want to ask you this because it's a common theme. We don't always dabble in the extraneous storylines, but the idea of a payback that the Eagles delivered to the Giants, who celebrated that week 6. I mean, you saw guys taking their shirts off and posing on camera and everything like that. Well, the Eagles returned the favor with a smackdown of their own. Was it payback?
Well, I mean, and for the Giants' case, act like you've been there before, but
they haven't.
But in the Eagles' case, that was never the topic of conversation in the locker room, Geoff. It was all about doing what they need to do, staying disciplined, and really honing in on the details, and not necessarily fixating so much on what the Giants did in the previous matchup. Go out there, be the more physical team. You saw a lot of things that were really intriguing, like the running game take shape. And much like George Costanza, they leave for the bye week on a high note.
Yes, it's the bye week of the Eagles.
Yeah.
Summer of George, bye week of the Birds, whatever. But yes, they leave on a high note. It's great. And not only that, Andrew, as we continue to look at from a big picture standpoint, very tough part of the schedule. I mean, they opened the season against their rivals, the Cowboys. Right, it wasn't the prettiest game, but they won.
Sure.
Then you had to play all these playoff teams, including the Rams, right? And then you play the Broncos, which was a tough game. But, you know, week after week, the Eagles were playing some pretty tough teams, and this was supposed to be Kansas City Chiefs, right? Rematch of the Super Bowl. It was supposed to be one of the toughest legs of their schedule, and despite their flaws, to go in at 6-2, and even when they lost 2 games, it's not like the rest of the NFC East was catching up, and not like the rest of the NFC was pulling away either. They're in a pretty good spot here.
Yeah, but it goes beyond that because we saw a lot of different things in that game that we've been looking for all season from the team. They were able to play a complete game, all 4 quarters.
Right.
The running game, 276 rushing yards, 254, by the way, combined for Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby. I thought Kevin Patullo, the Eagles offensive coordinator, had his best game of the season by far. The defense was able to get to Jackson Dart 5 times. Just a really complete win for the Eagles, who really dominated the Giants in this matchup from pillar to post.
Yeah, they absolutely did. It was no question. The Eagles, I think the biggest thing that we can all agree, let's talk about what was really important from the game and what maybe people are making too much of, okay? The important thing is that the Eagles rediscovered their ground game.
Right.
And I understand the sentiment that the bye week comes at a very difficult time because they finally got their ground game together, and now they got to wait, more than 2 weeks because their next game is Monday night against the Packers. But the important thing is they rediscovered the ground game, not only for Saquon Barkley, but you mentioned Tank Bigsby, right? They dominated the Giants in the trenches in a way that they had not done for the first 7 games, even in their wins. That, to me, is the most important item coming out of the game.
I think for me, Geoff, and you bring up some interesting points there, the biggest takeaway for me was the offensive line executing in the way that they did. From the second play of the game, Jordan Mailata seals off the left side. Landon Dickerson blocks 3 players on one play, and then it just became Saquon Barkley versus safety Tyler Nubin, and he was off to the races. But from then on, they set the tone. They dictated what they were going to do in that game, and it reminded me a lot of 2024. And they got a really good performance out of center Brett Toth, making his first career start at center, and that made all the world of a difference, keeping that line together and really complimenting what they already had there.
100%. You know, Brett Toth was the guy under the microscope. Oh, no, he's at center. They're going to have issues. Well, they didn't. They had no issues. They did. So let's translate that to going forward, because I agree with you. I think the biggest takeaway was that looked like the 2024 offensive line, not only from a dominance standpoint, but from an execution standpoint. If you watch the Saquon Barkley touchdown on the second play of the game, what you see is something you saw commonly last year, which is nobody touched the guy, right? Saquon Barkley led the NFL last year in yards before contact. He was one of the worst, not he, but they were one of the worst yards before contact runners for the first 7 weeks into this game. And then all of a sudden, a difference. And that you can only attribute to the offensive line.
Yeah, there was a lot of reach blocks that particularly Landon Dickerson, again, had his best game of the season. Brett Toth getting out in space, showcasing some athleticism. There was one play, I think it was a 12-yard Saquon Barkley run, where he completely buried cornerback Drew Phillips. Tyler Steen had a nice block on that play. But there was the pins and the pulls, and there was a lot more variation this game in the running game, and they were able to get it going. I don't think that was any coincidence.
No, but that's a great segue into what I think might be a little overstated about what we've seen from the Eagles offense, both against the Giants in the last 2 weeks. I give them credit as a staff, as a team, right? That has come under a lot of criticism offensively for introducing some new concepts, going under center. The Eagles did it for the first time quite a bit against the Vikings. It didn't work very well for a run game.
No, it did not.
Saquon Barkley ran for 16 yards on 12 carries from under center. But they didn't say, oh, well, screw it, we're not going to do that anymore.
Let's abandon it.
Right. They brought it back even more against the Giants, and then you saw that, plus you put Fred Johnson out there on about 9 or 10 of those snaps under center, add a little beef up front, and then you see the run game go, okay? But to your point, it's the execution that mattered. The wrinkles are things that can help you. They're things that a defense may not have practiced against as much. They can be an assistance, but I don't want people to look at the Eagles the last 2 weeks and say, they got to be an under-center running team. This is the cure, because that's not the case. It's about execution.
Exactly. A lot of their shortcomings offensively, and at least in my estimation, Geoff, stem from lack of execution. And I think you saw what happens when you're able to execute your plays and everything suddenly looks a little bit better designed when players are executing and the holes are there and all of that. But I also think that Kevin Patullo deserves some credit here. They typically have leaned on either Grant Calcaterra or Kylan Granson in 12 personnel, and they're not ideally suited to do that. They're not inline blockers. But what they did and what they've done the past 2 weeks have implemented Fred Johnson in terms of their jumbo package, and they're trying everything to help, I guess, initiate the running game. And I think that he deserves a lot of credit from not necessarily just continuously rolling out the same personnel groupings and things like that. He's trying different things and being a little bit more creative. Dallas Goedert, by the way, how he's utilizing Dallas Goedert, I don't think we've seen in recent years. So there's been some things that they've done offensively that have really caught my eye.
Yeah, you and I both spoke to a bunch of players after the game on Sunday, and one of the things I gleaned from that is exactly what you're pointing to, is that Kevin Patullo, from the get-go, from the start, wanted to introduce some new concepts into the red zone offense. And it's the one thing that even if you're the biggest Kevin Patullo critic in the world, which right now it feels like there's millions of them just here in the Delaware Valley.
Not anymore after that game.
Well, let's say it's one game. You have to acknowledge that when the Eagles get into the red zone, not only are they impactful with an 85% scoring chance that is number one in the NFL right now, but it is not just tush-push and, like last year, running with Saquon Barkley and getting in. They have used Goedert very creatively. You're talking about shovel pass. You're talking about the little flip, the late tush-push for him where they got one, the RPO Sunday that led to the touchdown. They have clearly – what he has done in this red zone has clearly made a difference for this team.
Yeah, and it should always have been expected that it was going to take some time for Kevin Patullo to get his feet under him. And play calling is not It's an art. It's not a science.
Yep.
And you could look at this star-studded cast and players that he has to work with and ask yourself, how could they hand the keys to the offense to a coordinator who's never called plays? Well, it has more to do with that. There's more that meets the eye with that because Nick Sirianni has worked with Kevin Patullo for a number of years. He knows exactly where his processes lie, where in terms of just game planning and his offensive mind, and he had faith that he was going to figure it out.
Right.
So he was learning on the job, but you're starting to see a little bit more of a confident play caller, and that really manifested Sunday afternoon.
I noticed Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts having a really long, animated, in a good way.
Yes.
When I say animated, they both seem very excited.
Engaged.
As you would think after a huge win like that over your division rivals. In the locker room, right, usually sometimes when people talk they want to be private, but they were in the locker room, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they had the hand gestures going. They were clearly excited about something that they were in tune with in the game, and they wanted to really reflect on that because, you got a week off. You want to carry all these good vibes over, but I thought that was a good sign.
Yeah, you never want to just make light of, well, it was just the Giants. It's how the Eagles won that game. They didn't skate by, even though they were missing critical pieces like A.J. Brown and Cam Jurgens. I thought that they were very much in sync on all facets of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. And then you talk about seeing Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts talking it over in an engaged conversation, a very positive conversation. And it seems like this is the type of win that they can certainly build off of, and they need to because the slate of games coming up after the bye week doesn't get any easier.
Right. As we wait on Barrett Brooks, he will be joining us momentarily. I want to ask you this because I can't wait to get into this, the trenches with Barrett, and then just the overall locker room feel. You're in the locker room all the time as far as your job with InsideTheBirds.com, which you're excellent at, by the way.
Thank
I'm
you.
a little biased.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might be a little biased there.
But I do want to switch gears a little bit away from the run game and ask your honest feeling on the A.J. Brown situation right now. I mean, I feel like this is part of the goodness of going into the bye. It's out of the landscape for a little bit. But, I mean, he's clearly sending messages, cryptic ones, through social media, and that's threatening the fact that the Eagles have a good thing going on right now.
Yeah, it's obviously a topic of conversation. And what I want to first say before we delve into it, Geoff, is that A.J. Brown is beloved by his teammates. He's very well liked. There's a reason why he's a captain, and he very much enjoys and appreciates being a part of the Philadelphia Eagles. Everything that I've gathered suggests that.
Right.
Now, is that to say that A.J. Brown isn't frustrated? No, he is frustrated. He knows how he can impact the game. There are times this season where I'm sure he would like to be force-fed the football because he knows the impact that he can have. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you look at an athlete and you wonder, okay, he had 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. Why isn't he happy? I think a lot of times what makes certain people great, certain athletes great, certain people in what we do great is that you're never satisfied. You always want more.
Right.
And I think that's the case with A.J. Brown. He knows that he works hard for a reason, and he wants to be a focal point of the offense week in and week out, and that's just not the way that the Eagles play football. That's not the way that they play offensive football with the Eagles. It could be his week one week. It could be Devontae Smith. It could be Saquon Barkley, and they're going to share the wealth. And
right.
I think that's something that probably frustrates them, knowing that it's not really going to change. This is a foundation that they've built, and he's a part of it.
Yeah, I would say for his career as an Eagle, and especially over the last few years where he's been a little bit more frustrated with the passing offense and has expressed it, I have always understood exactly what you said and where he's coming from because you're right. I mean, he's an all-pro caliber receiver, and there were times even in a win where they would struggle offensively and he's open and the ball's not going there. And I always thought he was at least expressing he wasn't throwing anybody under the bus. He would say the pass offense. He never pointed a finger at Jalen Hurts.
He doesn't point the finger.
And then the next day he would talk about it. But I have to say, the last one bothered me because it's a game they won. It's a game where he had 2 touchdowns. It was even the touchdown that he caught, the second one, was one of Jalen Hurts' best throws in terms of timing, anticipation, between the numbers, window throw. Like, if you can't at least be happy with some crawling before you walk, right, and then you after a big road win that snapped a 2-game losing streak, that's the first time I thought that's not the right time in the place. And even if you are upset, it does feel like you're throwing teammates who perform well under the bus.
Yeah, I understand that, and perception is reality, right?
Yeah.
But A.J. Brown's also the same player that a couple of days after the Super Bowl, he posted a photo and was like, yeah, pretty much I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, that was cool, but more like, what's next? And he I guess, really prioritizes and loves the process, dominating the player in front of him, and he wanted to get back to work. I think that offers maybe a peer behind the curtain into the mindset of someone like A.J. Brown, and I also believe that that's what makes him great.
Absolutely. All right, we'll have to get into the defense when we come back from the break. We have a lot to talk about on the defense, including something Vic Fangio said today that was, like, mind-boggling, and I loved it. We'll get into that when we come back on the other side. You're listening to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Go where the players go. Come join us all season for Eagles pep rallies, watch parties, and the best in-game experience anywhere. Ice cold draft beer, world famous food, and fan-friendly fun for every Eagles game. Every Monday night in South Philly, the Jordan Mailata Show, presented by Miller Lite, followed by Chicky and Pete's Players Lounge with a current player, hosted by Ike Reese and Hugh Douglas. Go where the players go. Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Geoff Mosher and Andrew DiCecco.
That's right. We are here live at Chickies and Pete's in Marlton, New Jersey. It is time for segment 2 of the Pro Football Report. And segment 2 is this week's injury review, brought to you by the attorneys at Bagley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-3689. That's 215-806-3689. Again, that's Bagley, Carlin, and Mandio, 215-806-3689. And we are proud to be joined, excited to be joined. He is a star on NBC Sports Philadelphia. He also played in the NFL for the Eagles. He was an offensive lineman and a damn good one. Barrett Brooks.
I appreciate the check is in the mail, bro. The check is in the mail. I appreciate it.
I will be checking it immediately. I got Venmo, brother.
There we go. The new wave, Venmo, yeah. The Venmo is on its way.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
We were talking before in the first segment about the rediscovery of the run game. And the storyline is going to be, wow, the Eagles went under center. And Andrew and I are saying, yeah, that's a nice wrinkle. It was fun. It didn't really spring the run game against Minnesota. But what was really interesting to see, Barrett, was the execution of the offensive line, whether
Absolutely.
under center, shotgun, pistol, triple wing, whatever you want to call it, they executed in a way we haven't seen.
And that's the biggest thing. I think it's more so a mindset, more so than anything. They went out there with a chip on their shoulder. They got beat up and out physical by a Giants team a couple weeks before. So they took it personal this time. But they got to take this mindset from this point on for the rest of the season. I think since they saw that, I think they are going to change. I'm not saying that they had anything residual from last year, like, all right, you better bow down to us because we won the Super Bowl. That doesn't do anything but put an X on you. Now you're the hunted. So they finally realized that, okay, then, yes, we're probably the most talented team in the NFL, but it takes an attitude, a mindset. You just got to be a tough SOB, man, when you're an offensive lineman and you're playing against teams. Defense, too, those guys are learning also. So it's just, to me, a mindset that changed and clicked for them in this game.
Barrett, Brett Toth made his first NFL start at center Sunday afternoon. What was your takeaway on his performance?
I have beat up on Brett Toth since he was playing this season.
Just you, Barrett. Everybody else.
It's not just you.
And it was deservedly so. Deservedly so. He looked absolutely horrible. In fact, the Giants game, he played the worst I've seen a guard play because he just wasn't aggressive enough. He just didn't take the fight to the defenders, and that's why Burns and those guys had such an amazing game. They ran the same TE stunt 3 times for 3 sacks. Wow. So, and it's part of him not being aggressive enough, not hitting the guy, that's over him at the point of attack and stopping his momentum just enough to allow, Jordan Mailata to get into him and push him into the looping guy going inside. Well, he didn't do that.
Right.
So since he didn't do it, they said, all right, we can beat you with that. And that's exactly what they did. They just kept running it. He just wasn't aggressive enough. He was sitting like a tackle instead of a guard. Well, this game at center, number one, he knew exactly what he needed to do, how he needed to execute it. But a great thing is he also knew where the ball was supposed to go to, so he made the right calls on where guys were lined up and the mic and everything else. He had everybody on the same page. He was a totally different player from what I saw the previous weeks when he was in at guard.
Which is interesting because you and I were at training camp, and he repped mostly at guard. So you would think that would be the more natural position for him, and not center, but he looked more comfortable at center.
Bro, man, you looked at him snap the ball horrendously in shotgun. I'm like, how is he a center? He can't snap. But he comes out this game and was automatic. I mean, I thought Cam was in for a minute. He played that well.
And he looked good in space, getting out there, and I think that showcased a little bit of his athleticism, and that's something that the Eagles can build on if they need him for at least in the short term.
Well, that's what Brett Toth is. I was talking to Rube, one of my co-hosts up at NBC, and Rube said during his whole time at Army when he was playing, he passed the ball, I think, 17 times, either 11 or 17 times during his career. Now, another, Geoff Stoutland, Coach Stoutland, university guy that graduates and becomes a great offensive lineman because he taught him how to pass block. He was a good athlete, but he was a tackle, and he couldn't gain any weight because he was in, armed service, services.
He was like 270.
Right. So he couldn't gain weight because they had to go PT and everything else. But then he comes here, gains a little weight, gets stronger, but then he learns the, stuff that he needs to be for a great offensive lineman, and that's exactly what he did. He learned how to pass block. And, he must have been good because he's been at Stoutland University. I mean, he's in his super senior year,
He's got his master's. He's got his master's.
He's almost getting his, what's the one after that?
The doctorate?
The doctorate. Yeah. Look, he got COVID
he keeps
years.
coming back.
Yeah.
This is his 3rd time with the team.
Exactly. Yeah. So, evidently they saw something in him, and I finally saw what they saw in something in him. It was a short time where I'm thinking, oh, man, he must have pictures of Coach Stoutland or, the owner or something, because why do they keep bringing him back? But he proved to me this game why they brought him back. He was pretty good.
Yeah. I want to ask you this because you won a Super Bowl with the Steelers, right? And were you back with them the next year? I was trying to remember.
I was back with them the next year.
Okay.
I just happened to have a catastrophic season career-ending injury. I ripped my quad muscle from my kneecap.
I remember us talking about that. So I never really believed in the whole Super Bowl hangover thing, but I've been trying to figure out, and maybe we all have, the lack of execution just from the O-line and the offense for the first 7 weeks. Why? I mean, we know Dickerson has been banged up, and we know Juergens is banged up.
Injuries.
You watch the tape too. You saw Mailata just uncharacteristically missing some blocks, even Lane. As a unit, I just couldn't figure out why guys that you're accustomed to making these blocks almost routine just weren't doing it.
And that's the bad part about a Mosher.
Do you believe in the Super Bowl hangover? I mean, do you have anything to do with it?
It's not a Super Bowl hangover. It was more so, I'm the big kid on the block, respect me. And everybody else is looking from down and looking up. And they're like, all right, we circled your game on our
You're the hunter.
And because of that, since we circled the game, you're going to get our best. So, in all actuality, they're going to play in 17 Super Bowls before we even make it to the playoffs. You're everybody's Super Bowl. If they beat you, it's like it's like showing that, all right, we've arrived. We are now a good team. You look at how Denver's approached their season. After they beat us, everybody's talking about them as being one of the best teams in their division, in the NFL. After they beat us, you heard more about them after they beat us. Well, it's the same thing, you know.
Yep.
You're always going to be the hunted now, and they finally realize, all right, we've got to get our act together because people are whooping us. They're bringing it to us. And once that mindset changes, all right, then, you want to fight, let's go. We're going to go out and pick a fight. And
Right.
they finally picked the fight this game.
And I imagine, like, subconsciously as an athlete, you don't realize that you're not playing
Exactly.
at that hungry level you used to play at until you get humbled and lose 2 games in a row and one to your
Until
rivals.
you get hit in the mouth, you know,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, wait. We're the Eagles.
Yeah.
You can't do us like this.
Right.
But like, yeah, we're going to do you like this because this is how we become the big kids on the block.
All right.
That's right.
All right, so this is supposed to be the injury segment. Let's get to this really quickly. Obviously, the bye week's on. Saquon Barkley did leave the game with a groin injury. He did talk after the game.
Yeah, he said
and
that
it's not minor, right?
He said he could have went back in if they needed him to, and that it shouldn't really be an issue.
Yeah, so the bye week comes at a very good time for
Great
him.
time, yes, great time.
And
Yeah,
then
we need that.
obviously the Eagles were without some key starters, Adoree Jackson, A.J. Brown with the hamstring, and then
Cam Jurgens.
Cam Jurgens, of course.
And hopefully we
injury,
get
too.
back Nolan Smith to get some
Right.
more heat off the edge. So maybe he
Right.
comes off that now, and maybe we get Bennett also. You know, Bennett, see what he can do on
Exactly.
that secondary.
Yeah, there should be 3 reinforcements coming: Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, and Jacorian Bennett.
Yes.
So I think you have to feel pretty good about that, and you can build off of that. And now you're getting some help.
I'm not going to lie. Given Vic Fangio's history of not giving a you-know-what, I totally thought Brandon Graham was going to be out there.
Me too.
I thought he was going to look at him.
I asked him about Brandon Graham today.
Uh-huh.
He said he was okay. He goes, he was okay, better than I thought, and he goes, I'm starting to think that he could help us here.
Just from talking to guys and around the locker room, just little, I call them intimate talks, and they're saying that BG, he's going to be able to give us, 10 to 12 10 to 12 reps a game. I'll tell him, shoot, take me out of retirement too. I can give you 5 to 7 reps, like 9 on 7, but
You
then
got,
after
you
that,
got 5'7" in you?
you know what? Now that I said that didn't even sound right coming out of my hell
No,
no,
I'm only
hell
asking.
no, hell no.
I'm only asking because Todd Harriman's, we had him on the show recently, kind of said the same thing. He said maybe I could do 3 to 5 reps, but my question is, against who?
Exactly.
You want 3? Can you do 5 against Myles Garrett?
No, I was talking about against you, Motion. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, I'm talking. Yeah, that's why. No, but those guys are bigger, stronger, faster. And I'm too old, man. I'm a half a century already, man. So I can do it. But Todd, he probably can do it. He's slimmed up a lot. He's probably still in shape, probably running around and stuff.
I think he might be a little too slimmed up now.
Right. You're kind of looking like Kelsey. Kelsey's slimmed up a lot too. So
Yeah.
But I just think that him coming back and the way he finished his career in that Super Bowl, he was lighting people up, man. He still has it. But I think the big thing, he's going to teach these guys how to finish. That's what's the problem. He didn't know how to finish when he first got in the league. That's why he's kind of struggled. These guys aren't at that level where they're finishing yet. Maybe he can teach them how to finish because somebody tried to teach them, and then they can turn around. They can start finishing the deal, getting sacks and making big plays.
It's funny you mentioned that, Barrett, because I had some really good conversation with Zadarius Smith, and he was saying how he was telling a lot of the young edge rushers, don't get infatuated with sacks because then it's going to get in your head and you're going to miss the ones that are the plays that are in front of you. And he said he pretty much had to establish that with them.
You're absolutely right, man, because when you're looking to do that, that's when you're not going to get it. But like when you're out there and you're going through your assignments, your technique, and doing things the way you're supposed to do it, they fall into your lap. And a lot of times that's what happened. Look at BG. He actually won the game, the first Rams game against, when we played the Rams.
Yeah.
But, you talk about that jet sweep that he caught in the backfield for a tackle for loss. That was a huge play.
Yeah, it was.
So, those little things like that and the sack at the end of the game, those are the little things, right, that you don't really check out and you don't really notice because he's an older guy. But, he played well enough that he saved us a lot.
That Rams game last year may have been one of Brandon Graham's best games
No
of his
question.
career. He was dominant. I forget Adam Caplan always makes fun of the right tackle who had to go in and play that day. It was a backup. Goodwin, I think, was his last. I don't know who it was. But,
I got to find out.
Brandon Graham must have been licking his chops that night because he did save that game for them.
Oh, no question.
That was his best game of the season by far.
Yeah. Real quick before we get to the other side here, I want to dovetail from what you're talking about, not chasing sacks or believing that sacks means you're great, because what Vic Fangio said today when asked about getting 5 sacks was that the rush could have been better. And you know what? You watch the game, kind of agree. I feel like Jackson Dart ran himself. He was seeing ghosts out there because he had the ball a couple of times, 4 or 5 seconds, and he ran himself into Jordan Davis for a sack. He ran himself into somebody else. Whereas I think Vic is still waiting for the
glad you
reinforcements we're
said
talking
that.
about to really get the pressure that he doesn't have to continue to manufacture with Sims and
Exactly.
and other blitzes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you saw that. You said that and you saw that because it's not necessarily getting no sacks. You had to play a game in which you had to mush rush. Mush rush meaning you get to quarterback level as the defensive ends on the outside. You got to make sure you retrace, stay, keep them inside the pocket. They kept them inside the pocket, which allowed them to make some, hay on that. If you go out there and just want sacks and think of sacks, that's when you overrun him. That's when he gets the lanes because you're not doing your job. When you do your job and you're getting sacks, that's when it works.
Yeah, I thought Jalix could have had another one, and Josh Uche could have had it easily too.
Right.
On that play where Scatterbo got hurt, he was right there on Jackson Dart.
So he had a sack but missed 2. That's -1, but Vic called him neutral today. So maybe he's actually all right.
Well, he had one that looked like it was a forced fumble, and they didn't count
That's
that.
true.
Right,
So
right.
There's your net neutral, Andrew.
There you go.
You gotta love a defensive coordinator saying,
Isn't he a breath of fresh air, man? Because
He is.
Schwartz gave us nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely
but
nothing. Well, a lot of good baseball analogies from Jim.
There you go.
Yes.
Not good Eagles defense ones. All right, that was this week's injury review, again brought to you by the attorneys at Bagley, Carlin, and Mandio. Contact them today for a free consultation at 215-806-3689. We got to take a break, but we will be back. It's the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Do you have a large party of 10, 20, even 50 people? We can't wait to treat you like family at Chicky and Pete's. Forget about deposits or credit card reservations. Making a reservation for your large group is effortless at Chickies and Pete's. Lots of options to celebrate and make your night out unforgettable. Order off the menu or select from food and drink packages, private party rooms available. Make your reservations right now at chickiesandpete's.com. And don't forget, Chicky and Pete's gift cards are the perfect fit for any occasion. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
Hey BCWSA customers, this is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. My friends at BCWSA are committed to providing us with safe, reliable water and sewer services. They operate state-of-the-art treatment facilities, provide clean drinking water, and make much-needed investments to protect our environment and ensure a sustainable future. Learn how BCWSA's investments help grow and serve our communities. Visit bcwsa.net. BCWSA, proven.
Rob's Automotive and Collision Center in Lower Bucks County is a full-service repair center with competitive prices, top-of-the-line products, and the finest auto body and mechanical repair technicians anywhere. Rob's makes repairing your car easy. Same-day service guaranteed. Whether it's an oil change, state inspection, or a mechanical issue, Rob's will have you in and out and on your way. 2700 Veterans Highway in Bristol, 215-826-9200 for 24-hour emergency towing. Call 215-826-0250.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Bagley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Bagley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Geoff Mosher and Andrew DiCecco.
That's right, and we also are joined by former Eagles offensive lineman Barrett Brooks. You see him on NBC Sports breaking down the Birds, NBC Sports Philadelphia, alongside a good friend of Inside the Birds, Jason Avant. You guys having fun there?
I mean, love Jason. It took me a long time to get him on, man. Just talking about me and him already have chemistry. We also have a show called Players Only, Birds Huddle Players Only.
Of course.
But, I love his aspect. We almost never agree, but we agree because we're, ex-players, but we see things a little different. I see things from a broader aspect. He thinks, like AJ's, he knows everything. You know what I mean?
Are you saying he's another diva wide receiver? Is that what you were getting at?
Oh, my goodness, he is. That's my boy, man. He's great, man. I love his insight. I love how he approaches the game. And, he sees it from a different way than I do. Me is, 3 yards and cloud of dust, run the ball, and him.
Right.
He wants to get that ball sailing,
Yes. Well, let's go to pedigree here. He played for Andy Reid.
Oh, absolutely.
And you played for Bill Cowher, right? Yeah. So you played for a guy who wants to just run and pound you in the mouth, and he played for a guy who wants to pass the ball all over the place.
And we go back and forth with that all the time. AJ's the best player on the team. I say, just no question about that. I feel you on that. But when you look at it, you got to run the ball, you got to tenderize him, you got to beat him down, then we'll throw the ball.
There you go. Plus, in college, you're a Kansas State guy, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And so that's a Bill Snyder operation.
I was his second class he brought in.
That's right.
Kansas State, So
Right.
I was part of the biggest turnaround in college football history.
And he was a run game proponent as well.
Loved
correct?
it. I mean, he had, Michael Bishop, those guys running around for him. Darren Sproles.
I remember Michael Bishop.
Yeah, so they did things, running the rock, and then, he turned us around. They hadn't won a game in 5 years until we got there. And then when we got there, we averaged like 10 games my last 3 years being there. So
right.
He did change things around.
I do want to ask you, because I remember when you first started working for NBC Sports Philadelphia. I was there. We worked together. We did some shoots together.
Yep.
And that was really your first. You had called radio. You called college football games. I know you had done some media, but that was really you coming into your own as an analyst, right?
Absolutely.
As someone in front of a camera. And we would have a lot of conversations. I was sort of new to that as well, but 3 years in. And now I watch you analyzing the game, very comfortable, like really understanding how to not only analyze the game, but explain it to an audience that may not understand X's and O's really well. I'm really proud of where you come from. Not that means anything coming from me.
No, for real, man. You were there with my start, man. When I first got there, you were already there. You were already established. I got there.
I remember you were asking me for tips, and I'm like,
exactly.
I'm not sure I'm the guy that's supposed to be good.
Because I didn't know,
Right.
I get on there. I remember, I had a 2-hour show, Breakfast on Broad, 2-hour show.
Yep.
And that first week, I might have said 50 words the entire show. We're talking about 2 hours for 5 days. And I might have said 50 words the entire week.
Wow.
The entire week, man. It took a while for me to really get comfortable, and it had a lot to do with, reading the prompter was, I'm like, come on now. I mean, I can't read the prompter. I mean, this is crazy. Here I have an MBA in healthcare administration.
Right.
But I can't read. And the reason it's different, man, because you got to read like you're not reading, number one.
Right.
But number two, you got to be fluent with it, and it took a lot of reading my Bible in the bathroom and hearing it in the bathroom to get really where I needed to be.
And now you and I get a chance to talk on the air sometimes when I'm on with Bill and Ricky.
Man, I love it, man. Love it. I mean, and you're doing a great job also, man.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
I try to stay out the way with that. You give me the mic and let me go, but then dealing with Ricky, man, it's tough, man. I don't see how you do it, bro.
No, I think him and Ricky have the same mind sometimes.
Me and Ricky got close over the last year or so.
That's my man. We're very close, but he is a fireball, man.
Oh, yeah.
And I love his passion. And he's not just a baseball guy. Baseball, football, hockey, he does it all, man. He's very good.
And
I'm proud of him.
I'll tell you what, we'll get back to the Eagles in 1 sec, but this is an interesting topic because my first actual, I think, show when I started to do more TV at NBC Sports Philly was with Jamal Jackson and Ray Didinger, and Ron Burke was the host, and it was a tape breakdown show. So we would, in the morning, go to the green room and rewatch the game.
Right.
And this is before NFL Pro. Like, you literally got to watch the TV copy and do the best you can and break it apart. And we had a couple of great producers. And then we would write the script. We would pick the plays that we were going to go through. And then hours later, we would shoot the show, like 6 o'clock live, right? And to remember all the plays that are going to be, in that sequence and what happened was a real challenge for me, especially if I was spending the rest of the day writing stories. Like, I wasn't dedicated to that show.
You were doing
all day
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And there were times on TV where I was just, it's like a quarterback getting stuck in the pocket. I was like not exactly sure what the next footage that we put out, and I was looking down, and eventually we got it, but it's just such an experience. Like,
I love it.
Like you said, you're in the bathroom, like with your Bible, trying to figure it out. Like, I got that, man.
Well,
I get it.
If you ask me, man, if you take studio shows, you do calling college football games. I think I love college football games the most because it's right there, the action's right there, and I pride myself on being able to break it down so my grandmother could understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
So when I sit down, I break on cover 2. I'm like, yeah, you got 2 high safeties, you got the corners on the outside, and watch them. I could tell it's cover 2 because they squatted, but it was a 9 route when it was straight going down the field. He's got to latch up to him, so it looks like man, but it's not. So I try to make sure that they can understand it and, be a guy that, I don't talk above. I see people talk, oh, they're in cover 2, when we have the 2 verticals come in. People don't want to hear that, you know what I'm saying? People want to be able to talk about it at, the local watering hole or at the barber shop.
Yeah.
Or, just sitting there when they're, at the water cooler at work.
Yeah, I've actually learned a lot from watching how you operate because it is broadcasting, and I can't just assume that everyone has an idea of what, we're talking about.
Yeah,
It's
you
funny,
say 12 personnel,
that's what,
one
as a
running back,
writer,
2
I
yeah.
have to explain that, yeah.
Right,
when I write what I see, I do these and I write 12 personnel. I'm always in parentheses writing 2 tight ends, two running, and it's like 13.
You got to do it, man.
You do. You absolutely do. All right, let's take it back to the Eagles and flip the switch here. We were talking about Fangio.
Yep.
Not really thrilled with the pass run. I mean, he wasn't upset. He was just saying it wasn't like 5 sacks. We were just beating guys one-on-one all day long. What is this defense after 8 games? I want both of your opinions. To start with you, Barrett. What is this defense after 8 games?
I think this defense I don't necessarily think it's a bend but not break. I think he has so many talented players in different positions that he's trying to hide certain players.
Yes.
So in the midst of him hiding certain players, he didn't want to call and take out his full gambit of everything that he has to really stop offenses. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I think he's playing a little bit of cat and mouse, trying to get these guys in great positions. Because, I sat there and watched 3 teams in a row picked on that corner opposite of Quinion. Yep. 3 games in a row. I saw, they broke it down. They maximized whoever was out there. And they had, very productive game plans to do that. Yeah. So he's had to find a way to get them and hide them, So I think now if guys start playing a little better, he get a little pass rush, he can then take the handcuffs off and start doing what he really wants to do.
Yeah, Vic Fangio has had to apply a lot more pressure than he has in the past because they haven't been able to get home with regularity traditionally. So you're seeing his hands tied to sort of allude to what Barrett's saying here. You're having to find different ways to manufacture pressure. And also, you have to keep in mind that it's a young defense.
Yes.
So there's a lot of players like Drew Makuba, for example. Mm-hmm. There's been some busted coverages. There's been some missed tackles. But you can see whether it's Drew Makuba, Jihad Campbell, they're getting better every week. And I think they're starting to hit their stride. They're starting to find out what they want to do. And he's figuring out how to maximize his personnel going into the bye week.
I think watching this year's defense has given me, and this is not meant to be disrespectful because I agree with what you guys are saying. There's levels of it that just aren't the same as last year, and that is going to happen every single year, right? Yeah. It gives me a respect that for last year's defense, which going into the year, I don't think we knew how much of a killer Milton Williams was. We knew he was a good player.
Oh, yeah.
He was a killer.
Exactly.
He was the defense at point. And same thing with Josh Sweat. He really started to come on.
Sweat especially,
Sweat. And you put those 2 guys in that 4-man rush, Vic almost never had to blitz.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
And now you're seeing him blitz at a much higher rate this year against certain teams. He didn't do it much against the Giants because he didn't feel like he had to. But second corner.
Yep.
Darius Slay. Cagey
keep
veteran.
one of them, keep one of Slay, Rodgers, one of them too,
Right. And then even C.J. Gardner-Johnson for all of his year this year that he has not been able to land. He was
how about how he foreseeing that, man?
Right.
Yeah,
how about that?
I agree with the decision to draft Drew Makuba in the second round and kind of move on from C.J.
You have to do
that. But
you
also have to understand that when you draft a young player like that, especially in a pass-happy league, there's going to be growing pains. Yep. And he's been really accountable for that, and I think he's starting to grow.
Yeah,
and he kind of relied on guys, that they hadn't really proven themselves, but they showed flashes last year.
Yep.
You look at, Hunt. You take a guy that's only played the defensive end position 3 years.
Yeah, he was a safety at Cornell not long ago.
Right, so, here he is, now rushing the passer, and he finally started to, grow out a little bit in this last game. You look at, Jihad Campbell. The kid is, so green, but he's just so talented, so big. And everybody's like, well, I don't know if he could rush the passer. Well, he's actually bigger than Nolan Smith.
Right.
And we haven't had Nolan Smith, who we had banking on him being, a guy that was going to give us a lot of pressure. And then, also, he's had to kind of hide the fact that Carter just hasn't been as dominant as he's been the years before. And I truly believe he can be the best defensive tackle in the league. He just hadn't shown it right now. He's just done it.
I agree. I mean, I thought it was a little bit injury related. He was dealing, but he's been fine. He's not on the injury report anymore. He just hasn't been, again, the Super Bowl hangover, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I mean, Vic Fangio did say that he needed to round into better shape earlier in the season, and that was really evident, Barrett. You know, watching him in training camp, he clearly didn't look to be in tip-top shape. But also to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, Moro Jomo is another player they were banking on and have been banking on to take a big step. 4 sacks on the season, leads the Eagles. He gives them some juice from the interior. Now, he doesn't stop the run quite like a Milton Williams did, but he's been another player that they were really bullish on. You're seeing it pay some dividends.
We have been very surprised I was very surprised, and I'm still looking at him. And Davis came in and is playing great right now. Jordan Davis is playing very, very well, and a lot better than I thought he was going to play. But he's shown me something, you know. So it's kind of highlighted those two, Morrow and Davis. But I mean, I just thought they were going to bank a lot on that fact that they were going to have Carter there just disrupting everything, and then having Smith on the outside, doing his thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, summing it up, is that there's still a lot of high-end talent on this defense, from DeJean to Mitchell to Carter, right? Baun, Jihad Campbell will be. I firmly believe it. I just think that there's a little more of the quote-unquote middle class than there was last year, where there were just not that many weaknesses, and if there was, you could cover it up. But you know what? We haven't talked about the most important player on the team yet. 45 minutes into this show, we have not talked about a guy who's putting up MVP numbers. So we will talk about that when we get to the other side. You are listening to the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA right here, 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, live at WBCBsports.com.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Go where the players go. Come join us all season for Eagles pep rallies, watch parties, and the best in-game experience anywhere. Ice cold draft beer, world famous food, and fan-friendly fun for every Eagles game. Every Monday night in South Philly, the Jordan Mailata Show, presented by Miller Lite, followed by Chicky and Pete's Players Lounge with a current player, hosted by Ike Reese and Hugh Douglas. Go where the players go. Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here are your hosts from Inside the Birds, Geoff Mosher and Andrew DiCecco.
That's right. We have an awesome crowd here in Marlton, New Jersey at Chickies and Pete's, and we also have an awesome guest, former Eagles offensive lineman Barrett Brooks. Star, huge TV star at NBC Sports,
TV star.
Philadelphia, year-round, by the way, in probably the only city that does this, right, where you get Birds Huddle year-round. It's like summer, the Phillies are, Birds Huddle coming up next.
Hey.
Right? August,
the numbers are up there, man. I'm happy the numbers up there. I think just because with the fan base we have here, we're just totally dedicated to sports, period, here in Philadelphia. We're just a different mindset of how you think about your teams here in Philly. They're not, anywhere I've ever been.
100%. We're all very thankful and blessed to be in this market.
Right.
That's right. All right. This is the segment. It is called this week's Penworth Financial Keys to the Game. The key to your financial future is Penworth Financial. Call them today at 267-997-4503 or visit penworth.com. Guess what? There's no game for the Eagles. All right.
I know, man.
So we're going to go to the keys for the bye week. And to me, That starts with Jalen Hurts. We got to talk about Jalen Hurts, all right, because this man has thrown 7 touchdown passes in his last 2 games, which gives him 15 through 8 games. That's the most he's ever had through 8 games of his career, and he's on pace for 32 touchdowns this season, which, as we all know, would be by far a career high. I think 23 was his highest then. And when you start to get into the 30s, then people start to, like, you know, the stat mongers, they start, that's pretty good. He's throwing the football. He's throwing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts is throwing touchdown passes, Barrett.
That's it right now, because we haven't leaned on the tush push as we did last year.
Right. Yes.
We are using our offense, you know what I'm saying? We're using, you know, the weapons that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like Goddard he's so talented, man, and we've only have him for a selected, you know, couple of games because, you know, injuries have been an issue, but man, he's so talented, man, especially his run after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing, and I think he has the tightest symbiotic relationship with him than anybody else.
Definitely.
What's the key for him, Andrew, going into the break? You're Jalen Hurts. You're 6-2. You're putting up better numbers. His passer rating, by the way, is 114.1, the highest of his career, one of the highest in the NFL. What's the key now?
Yeah, he's really in a rhythm right now. You could see everything slow down for him. He's seeing the field really well. I think for Jalen, the key would be just getting with Kevin Patullo and trying to really hone in on every aspect of the offense so that when you do emerge from the bye week, you're able to kind of hit the ground running because they have a pretty formidable opponent that they're going to meet in Green Bay on November 10th. I think it's going to be a lot of self-scouting, a lot of getting with the coaches and trying to come up with a game plan and some more creativity to keep the offense flowing.
What do quarterbacks do during the bye week, Barrett? I mean, you played for several of them, right? I mean, you played with Big Ben. Who'd you play with when you were with the Eagles? I'm trying to think from 95
My first year, the last year, the Kelly Green jerseys.
It wasn't Bobby Hoying, was it?
Was it
That was
Rodney?
my last year. I had Randall Cunningham.
Oh, that's
wow.
right.
I
of
played
course,
with
Randall.
RC. I played with RC my rookie year. And then the next couple of years, you know, as quarterback, you know, by whoever had their hand raised at the time.
Yeah, that was a rough year.
Yeah, we had, you know, both of the, we had Bobby Hoying my last year there when we went 3-13.
Ty Detmer?
We had both the Detmers.
Oh, boy.
Both the Coy and Ty.
Yep.
I had Rodney Pete. And, it was quarterback, you know, with musical chairs. Mm-hmm. But we had such a talented, you know, running backs. You know, we had Ricky Waters and Charlie Garner. And people don't understand how great Charlie Garner was. Not to say good, I said great Charlie Garner was.
Very underrated player.
Definitely.
Very underrated.
And Ricky, too, you know.
Ricky was great, too, yeah.
If he hadn't did the who for what, I think he could have been one of the pivotal stars in this town that, you know, would bleed green for him anytime.
Hey, we need
City.
that content, okay? That's that's up there with Allen Iverson practice.
Exactly.
We need for who for what. Okay?
Well, we did. It helped us. But the first game he plays, my rookie year, my first game against Tampa Bay, alligator arms for who for what? Oh,
That's tough.
It was tough.
Yeah, he had actually a great career with the Eagles numerically, and it certainly was better than the way it started. But you also played in Detroit and Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Which quarterbacks did you play with there?
I had Charlie Batch.
Charlie Batch, all right.
When I was in Detroit. And then I went to Green Bay. I had, you know, I call him duck meat, you know. I mean, he said, "You like duck meat, B?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll duck down on." You know. Favre was just the funniest. He was just a simple guy, man. You know, great guy, simple guy, man. And you know, he really made me feel welcome. You know, in fact, just a quick story about Brett.
Yeah.
He drive this F-150. You know, this old F-150, man.
Of course
Here he is,
did.
this guy. But, you know, the local store, the local car dealership gave him one of the H2 Hummers, the new ones that came out, the H2 Hummers.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't want to drive it, so he didn't drive it. So I was renting a car, and he saw I was renting a car. He said, "Hey, why don't you drive this truck around for me, you know, so you don't have to rent a car, but drive it around for me so that, you know, just keep the windows up." I'm like, all right. So he gave me a truck for the entire season, H2 Hummer for the entire season.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. Great guy.
Well, you just happened to be in the right place at the right. I mean, it could have been anybody else on the team, right? You just happened to notice you were renting a car. And,
exactly, man. You know,
man,
it was
that's
yellow
classic.
too, man. It was the brightest yellow you can get. Bro.
Oh man, that's great.
Well, since the Eagles are playing in Lambeau, Barrett, what are your memories of playing there?
It was a great place to play because they believe that they pay your salary up there, and because it's a community team, they did pay your salary. So the expectations up there is a lot different than even here. Mm-hmm. Their fans are really wholesome fans.
Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah, you know, like win, lose, or draw, you know, they'll probably still give you a free meal or whatever, you know what I mean? It's not like here. You know, you got to earn it here. You know, but
here you get like for sale signs on your lawn if you're not playing.
They're trying to get you the heck out of here, man.
So the common bond then for a quarterback entering the bye week, does Jalen Hurts just get away from it all, or would you like to? Do you imagine that he digs into the tape and
We're
sees
talking
what
about Jalen. Jalen started watching tape yesterday.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, that's just the way he is. You know, he's not going to separate himself from the game because to him, he is the game.
Right.
So he sees, you know, he's going to look in and see the inefficiencies he has. He's going to fix those and come into, you know, against Green Bay and show everybody, look, I fixed it. He's always trying to prove how good he is and who he is because, you know, he feels though, you know, he's always getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My key is just because I feel like lately, last few games, we have seen Jalen really improve in the element of being decisive on certain throws that he in the past has not loved to make. Right? I brought up the one that he threw to AJ against the Vikings. Okay, but even in this last game before that, there are a couple of throws where you really see him comfortable sticking that foot in the ground and ripping it. Exactly. And there are times where he'll go through maybe a game or two to throw where you'll see that throw not made. I would love for him to see it and just remind himself, I make that throw and I make it really well. He's always been accurate. He's always had a good enough arm to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And if he can just do that 20 to 30% more, it's already happening. His touchdown numbers, his passer rating, everything about his passing numbers are up from what they usually are.
I think he's a little too conscious at times on, you know, his numbers, you know, so a lot of times he wouldn't throw those passes. But just look, you know, how he's opened up. Even the last touchdown of the game to Dotson. He would have thrown it up to Dotson. Dotson, no. We've got Dotson? No, it wouldn't have been we've got Dotson. He'd have just, you know, he'd be like, all right, I'm not going to throw that throw. But he threw it up and allowed him to, you know, go up and make a play on it. So to me, that showed a maturation of him trusting the guy, but trusting his arm that he can get up there and his guy will go out and fight for him.
Yeah. And Dotson mossed that defensive back. But I think you're seeing him not be so overly reliant on throwing outside the numbers. It's the intermediate throws, and he's just seeing the field really well right now.
Yeah. Smitty's giving him an opportunity, too. Smitty is always – he creates separation with his route running. He's just one of those smooth, seamless guys that you can trust.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, the other thing would be on defense now, right? The key to defense, you know, Vic Fangio is going to kind of – they're going to get guys back. Vic Fangio is going to look, see what they've done well.
The trade deadline's coming up, too.
The trade deadline's coming up. What is the biggest key for the defense, Barrett?
Those guys in the trenches. You know, Carter, once he makes his mind up that he wants to be the best defensive lineman in the league, this defense will be unstoppable. You won't be able to do anything with them. But until he makes that, you know, decision, they'll be an okay defense.
Yeah, I'm with Barrett. I think the key to everything is Jalen Carter. Get healthy. He had the heel. He has the shoulder. You know, they're relying on you to be that centerpiece for the defense, and, you know, they go as you go. So I'm looking to see him really emerge from the bye week and be that force.
Yep. You know, I mean, you saw, you know, N'Kobe Dean kind of solidified that run game stoppage.
Oh, yeah.
Know? So he's playing well, you know, so they have the keys. They have what they need. It's just them going out, and if he can turn the corner, this could be an unstoppable defense.
If I'm not mistaken, Howie Roseman did not make a trade last year at the deadline for the first time in quite a while.
No, he didn't.
No.
I wonder if that's going to be a trend or if he's itching to try to bring somebody in. We all talk about it, and it's the dominant storyline, but I always say, well, who's available and for what price?
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make a move because of the reinforcements that are on the way. And you look at the cornerback situation, they have three. You have to figure you'll land on one of them, whether it's Ja'Cory Bennett, who only played 24 snaps this season, Keely Ringo, or Adoree Jackson. Right. And you can make a case for all three. Adoree's coming off a concussion. Keely Ringo,
coming off a pretty good game.
He hasn't really been tested. And then Ja'Cory Bennett, they don't really know what they have in him. In fact, Vic Fangio said incomplete when asked to evaluate how he's looked in that defense.
Always overflowing with compliments, isn't he? If you could pick, we'll end it on this. If you could pick one position, Barrett, where you would like to see Howie make a move for a starting, I don't know if he's going to be able to bring in a Pro Bowl caliber player because not too many are available.
They're not going to let any of those guys go.
But a starting caliber player, where are you putting that? What position do they got to upgrade?
It would have to be rush in. A complete. If I can get a complete guy that can rush the passer, set the edge on the run, I would get that. But I don't think that they need it right now. I think they're going to be okay with what they have.
Well, the Eagles go into the bye. They have passed some major tests, but they've got two right out of the bye.
Would you call it a gauntlet?
With the 2 games is not a gauntlet.
Okay.
They just went through a gauntlet, right? But I will say, Packers-Lions, that is quite the test. Packers at Lambeau, Lions here the following weekend on Sunday night, and I know we'll be breaking it down. But guess what? You guys just passed the test for tonight. Barrett Brooks, thank you very much for showing up and giving you your expertise. Andrew DiCecco, read his stuff on InsideTheBirds.com. And that's going to do it for the Pro Football Report here on WBCB. We'll catch you on the next one.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W.